Hi, everybody. Today, I have the distinguished honor of having Dr. Taras Kuzio with me to discuss the Ukrainian-Russian war. And I just wanted to introduce him briefly. Dr. Kuzio is an expert on Ukrainian political, economic, and security affairs. In 2010, he predicted the Russian annexation of Crimea that would result from the ousting of President Yanukovych. And currently is an associate with the research and a research fellow at the Henry Jackson Society. There are two books that I found regarding this issue that you can find on Amazon. The links will be below.
The book on the right, The Crisis in Russian Studies, can be actually downloaded free of charge. So if your viewers go to the website of that publishing house, they can be downloaded free in PDF.
Dr. Kuzio, you mentioned the large-scale destruction, and we see that all the time, not just the human toll, but the tremendous infrastructure and like residential devastation, and one cannot help but think about how this is going to be all addressed in the future. So let's talk a little bit about the possibility of reparations. I myself sent a letter to Senator Menendez regarding a suggestion that there would be some sort of a tax to reinstate commerce after sanctions, where a tax or some sort of a tariff would be placed on all exports and imports between the West and Russia, and that money would be siphoned off to pay reparations and construction in Ukraine. And in addition to that, they make it necessary to have headquarters and distribution hubs for Russian companies dealing with export-import in the Ukraine, so that it would create a financial entanglement and a further challenge in the future, an obstacle that Russia would think twice whether to create its own sanction in effect immediately if it ever attacked.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I think that we have a predicament that Russian oil and gas exports were not really sanctioned because some countries like Italy and Germany said we need time to reduce our dependency on Russian oil and gas. Okay, if that's the case, fine. But then I agree with you. Then a percentage of the money, that the profits that Russia is making from those sales, I don't know, experts have to decide how much, 20%, 30%, should be taken and deposited into a special account at the, I don't know, IMF, European Bank of Reconstruction and Development, United Nations, and that would go towards post-conflict reconstruction. There's simply no, what is the alternative to that? The only alternative would be for Western donors or Western international organizations to pay for this. And why should they pay for something that Russia's done? So yes, I think that is certainly something that those kind of ideas are floating around. And I've seen some Ukrainian leaders talk about it, because there is an incredible just wanton destruction for no particular purpose. It's just the typical Russian way of doing warfare. They're not very good at combat, soldiers to soldiers, so they resort to this terror. Now the West is here to blame to some degree, because why did the West not do anything vis-a-vis Russia, sanctions or whatever, when Russia did this on previous occasions? Why is it that Muslim lives are not worth it for Western governments? What Russia did in Syria was deliberately done not only to terrorize the population, but to create an outflow of migration to Europe, which would then cause problems in Europe and lead to the rise of the popularity of the far right. the nationalist populist right, who always campaign on anti-immigration slogans and anti-Muslim slogans. So this was deliberately done. It was a deliberate strategy, and yet Barack Obama, he talked about so-called red lines in 2012. Nothing came of it, and threatening the Syrian regime that if it used chemical weapons, they would suffer. The Syrian regime continued to use chemical weapons, I think, on about 20 occasions against civilian targets, and the US did nothing. So the problem with bully boys is that if you don't stop them soon enough, then they're just going to continue. And this has been the problem, I think, with this. Why is it only now that we have these very, very tough sanctions, economic, trade, financial sanctions against Russia today, and yet we didn't have those same tough sanctions in 2014? If they had have been in 2014, maybe they wouldn't have been this invasion now. Certainly, Vladimir Putin expected the Western response to his invasion to be as pathetically weak as what he experienced, or what Russia experienced in 2014. That's what they expected. They were wrong, of course. They were wrong on this occasion because there was a very united and very tough Western response. But their miscalculation was based on what the West had previously done in 2014.
Yeah. And the thing that I like about such schemes of reparations is basically that it is between the West and Russia, and it would not have to be part of the negotiation between Ukraine and Russia, so it would not leverage against them in such negotiations.